A badge of honor. Police officers and first responders wear badges to let their communities know they are here to protect and serve. But that's not how it feels today, and the stress of the job is taking its toll, taking lives through suicide and post-traumatic stress injury. A Badge of Honor podcast features the cast of the same name, Sam Horwitz and John Salerno. Sam, John, and the team offer the first responders workshops through their critical incident stress management teams and mental health liaisons to offer state-certified T-COLE credit programs that save lives. It's time to smash through the stigma. It's time to heal from your injury, and it's time to back our blue. Welcome to A Badge of Honor podcast. Here are your hosts, Sam Horwitz and John Salerno.
Hey, welcome to A Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam. Man, happy Mental Health Monday. It's February 26th, and, our suicide rate, people are doing things right. Our suicide rate in our first responder community has fallen tremendously since last year, thank God. And we want to stay on that same track. One is too many, but we are down to about 19 first responders for the year so far. And that is one of the lowest numbers we've hit in the beginning years. So for any peer support group out there, anybody who's giving any post-traumatic injury classes, thank you for what you're doing, because it's having a huge effect throughout our first responder community. Hey, we are powered by the OBBM network, and we are now on Roku TV, right, Sam? Thank you, OBBM, for really sharing this platform with more and more people each and every day.
Yeah, and I'm getting questions about the Roku. We put up the replay and some other things. That'll be up tomorrow on all of our social media. The Roku, from what I'm understanding, runs a day after. And if you don't have Roku and you have a streaming stick like Amazon Fire Stick, it's OBBM TV is carried on the Traverse network, which is, if you live stream TV, John, like you and I both do, you can add that app, Traverse TV, to whatever streaming platform that you have if you don't have the actual Roku, and then you can watch us there. But yeah, it's an exciting time. And, speaking about everybody out there we're working as a team, a giant collective team, to heal our first responders, no matter what coast you reside on and everywhere in the middle. We're all in this together. I want to give a huge shout out to Backing the Blue Denton, was up there on Friday for their status check with John Edmondson. Wonderful speakers, eye-opening information. And it was really cool, because a lot of the folks that we've had on the podcast just happened to be the main speakers, and to see them off screen and in person, it was like a reunion. And nice. It was great information. So thank you, Back in the Blue Denton, for continuing to put forth a great conference. And because it's about more. It's about giving people the options to grab onto whatever is really calling their name. But we have to keep learning. Our jobs evolve. We have to evolve to meet the demands of the job, because guess what? Once the job stops and you decide it's time to retire, I should say you stop, it doesn't stop. And tonight we have on an amazing educator, the fire service. He's been a firefighter for more than 30 years. Right here in I'll say my backyard, just up the street. And he has recognized that not only in the fire service but beyond, first responders, we need the continuing education to be able to meet the demands of our jobs. And he is a master trainer. He's connected with IAFF. I messed that up. You need IAFF. Sorry, Bill. But without further ado, let's welcome William Bill Cruz. I also gave you an initial right there. To
welcome,
the podcast.
Bill.
Hey, Bill, how's it going?
It's great. How y'all doing?
We're doing good. We're doing good.
Tongue-tied. Hey, for everybody watching and listening on their favorite podcast app, please, let people know how you got into the fire department and why you are doing what you're doing now.
Oh, wow. My reasons for getting the fire department go back a long time and date me back to a great show from the 70s called Emergency. And as a kid watching Johnny and Roy and doing what they did. And it was then I knew I wanted to be a firefighter. And luckily enough, I grew up in a small community on the west side of Fort Worth called River Oaks. And River Oaks had a volunteer department. And a lot of the guys I hung out with in high school were junior members. And when I turned 18, I joined. And then it was confirmed. That was really something I wanted to do and started the procedure for testing. And then in 96, got hired by Garland and have been there ever since. Actually stayed with River Oaks for a number of years, rose to be the fire chief there, retired from there about 10 years ago. But I'm with Garland, been with Garland since 96, currently a lieutenant there, and just found out that my promotion's coming through. So March 10th, I'll be making captain.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. But, in terms of behavioral health for the fire service, that was something I got involved with more than 25 years ago when I took a CISM class with Fort Worth Fire Department. And, over the years, practiced in that. And then in 99, of course, we had the Precious Faith Temple Church fire where I lost two good friends, Brian and Philip. Of course, we just passed the anniversary for that, but and it was there that my own struggles with behavioral health and the memories and those things really started and experienced the clinicians that weren't ready to talk to firefighters and that didn't have the cultural competency that they really need to be able to work with our first responder population. And, was really disappointed in that. And then in 2017, IAFF rolled out its peer support program, which, peer support's nothing new. We've done that for ages. But they put together a program and took the class, became a part of Garland's peer team. And then lucky enough in 2019 to be selected as an instructor for them. And now I serve as a master instructor for the behavioral health program, teaching both peer support and resilience. And I also serve on the behavioral health committee as the District 11 representative for the IAFF. And then if there wasn't enough, I'm the president of our local 1293. So it gives me some unique opportunities when it comes to Garland, but also working with the state and the district and the international. And then, most of all, I'm a dad. I've got 6 kiddos, granddad. I got two grandbabies. My second grandbaby was just born on Friday.
Oh,
and,
congratulations.
Congratulations again.
Thank you. And married to my beautiful bride, Audra. So
that's fantastic.
That's who I am.
Well, that's awesome. You've done a lot. And, what I find interesting is, you talk about IAFF rolling out their peer support in 2017, right? And from there, when we think about peer support as first responders, it's 2024, and John and I are still meeting, whether it's firefighters or police officers or dispatch, where their departments, they don't have peer support. Like, they're trying to do peer support. So while this concept is not new, certainly it's not new, it's still kind of curious why, when we know it works, because we have the feedback for the folks that have put together good programs, why there aren't more departments getting into that. And I think this is a great time. We got to take our first break. I think that's a good question when we come back. We'll take that.
Okay.
Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back with Lieutenant, soon to be Captain, William Bill Cruz. Stay tuned.
Move freely, America, without medical restrictions or penalty. Without medical freedom legislation in place, our rights and freedoms are one vote away from being dissolved. Move freely, America, with one voice, without fear of retribution, achieving a common goal, medical freedom. We the people make our voices heard by connecting with state legislators and engaging a constitutionally compliant medical bill of rights for all citizens. Individually, change is improbable, but as an aggregate, attainable. It's time to act with one voice. My voice.
And my voice.
And my voice.
And my voice.
To protect our freedom, creating one voice that cannot be ignored. This requires your voice, too. Move Freely America. Go to movefreelyamerica.org to find a chapter near you. Plug in, donate, and help our legislators defend our God-given rights under the Constitution. Move Freely America. My voice.
And my voice.
And together with your voice, we're one voice that cannot be ignored. Donate today. MoveFreelyAmerica.org.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam, with our guest, Lieutenant, soon to be Captain, Bill Cruz of the Garland Fire Department, also the president of the Texas Fire Association. So welcome back, Bill and Sam. You know, before we took the quick break, Sam, you asked an amazing question on the peer support, and why is it so slow in moving when we know these things work? We know these systems work. Why isn't everybody grabbing a hold of this and saying, we need this?
Well, you know, I think we have to look at what we've done up to this point, and for years. I mean, and in what we've, as organizations, we've always been response organizations. You know, we sit and we wait for something to happen, and then we respond to it. We've done the same thing with our mental health, and we've sat and waited for something to happen. And hence CISM has been in place. CISM has been there for, many years. And for a long time, we felt like it was working and doing what we needed to do. So a lot of departments, even the state of Texas has a state CISM team, and they have them because they're easy. And, you have this very outlined protocol. You step in after a tragedy has occurred, you do the debriefing, and then we step out. And I'm not trying to put CISM in a box that's all it does. But that, for the most part, is what it is. And it's very easy to check boxes. Well, when we're talking about peer support, we're talking about something that's not easily defined. It's not easily put in a box. And the true power of it comes in its proactiveness and what we're doing before. To truly know how somebody is going to be resilient, we have to know what they're like before the tragedy happens. John, you came out of FDNY.
No. Not FDNY.
Oh, sorry. I made an assumption.
I was NYPD, but I was, when you brought up volunteer, I was a volunteer in Farmingdale Fire Department. I retired as a chief, but on Long Island, they only have volunteer fire departments. And then you have the FDNY. Okay. So
I say that to say there's several guys I work with the counseling unit from FDNY. And these are leaders and innovators in the peer support world. Frank Lito, Drew Kane, John Lynn, and you talk to them, and John Hemsley, and you want to know what the response was to somebody at 9/11. How that somebody was going to respond, and they tell you. Well, I have to know how they were on 9/10 to how you tell you how a 9/11 was going to affect them and how they'd end up on 9/12. So it's that pre-work, that proactiveness that really helps our people to come through those tragedies. And that has to happen in a world where that person is comfortable. And they're not always comfortable doing it with somebody from admin. They're not always doing it comfortable with somebody from admin. And we spend a lot of time talking with groups out there that peer support doesn't need to live in the administrative office. Peer support doesn't need to live in the local or the union by itself. It almost has to live out here in its own little space, supported by both of these, and let it do what it needs to do. And chief, you're just going to have to trust when I say this guy needs off, or this gal needs this, or this needs to happen, and let that happen so that they can get treated and get back to work. And just know that no matter what I do, I'm taking care of your people. I'm taking care of our people. And chiefs have a hard time doing that. They want to control those things. They want to have their hand in it. And so for peer support to truly work, chiefs have to empower and let go. And it seems like the more bugles they have on their shoulder, the more brain cells that get sucked out. So I think they're more like plungers than they are bugles sometimes. But that's the difference. I mean, but also at the same time, there's a lot of personal responsibility that comes in for our people, in that they have to actively take a participant spot in this and do work before the tragedy happens, do things to build their resiliency, and not just step out and when I need help after the tragedy has occurred or the group of tragedies occurred. That you've got to do some groundwork, and that groundwork starts the day you get the job. And it may be, things that you think right now are goofy. It's breath work. It's mindfulness. It's doing some yoga. It's eating right, and all these things that we have to make time for, and not just let them passively happen. We have to actively engage in that. So peer support is not just a movement. It's not just a procedure. It is a wholesale culture change. It changes the way we look at all of this. It changes the way that we think about preparing ourselves for this and the way we react to these things. It's changing the way that chiefs look at discipline rather than looking at things as a discipline problem. Maybe this is a symptom of a behavioral health problem. And we've got to put our behavioral health on the same level we do as our physical health. And not even there be a separation, that when we talk about our health, it includes our physical and our mental health. And then we're not afraid to go get that checkup from the neck up. I mean, come on, and it's that stigma that we've been fighting, I entered the fire service when it was still the suck it up buttercup modality, there's no crying in the fire department.
Right.
We just, we got to get back out there. There's another call to make. And, but we got to get out of that. And we've done a good job so far. And we're getting there, and you mentioned earlier, the rate of suicides. And I'll say from my perspective, we don't truly understand the rate. We know that we're at a higher risk. We know that. We're exposed to things and we have a higher risk, but government wise, we have not had the recording capabilities to truly understand what the rate of firefighter, and I'm going to speak firefighter because that's only I know, is firefighter suicide. Just now we have the HEROES Act that's enabled the National Violent Death Reporting System to tag a suicide as a firefighter or as a police officer. The IAFF has a recording capability of that, but even at that, we're still not capturing all of those numbers.
Bill, you bring up a great point in the beginning of this, because we've spoke about it many times on our show with different guests. And we're not looking on how our firefighters were, like when you said September 11th, how they were on September 10th, right? So we're not following the proper resiliency, because say a firefighter had a bad fire or a bad car accident or viewed something bad on a 10th, we wait. Our jobs are unknown. We don't know what our next call is going to be. It could be getting a cat out of a tree, or it could be a terrorist attack. So we really don't know. And that's what we live in. We live in that unknown state. So we build up this shield and we feel nothing could hurt us. But then it's that one thing, that one extra drop in our bucket that puts us over the edge. And even in young kids today, they don't feel that, they feel like they have that big Superman on their chest. They can do anything. They're fearless. They're fighters. They're courageous. We have to teach them it's okay to be able to get into your own mind and let somebody help you. Because they'll let somebody help them in a fire. We got to let them help outside the fire. We got to let them help inside our minds, So you bring up we have to watch our men and women throughout their careers, not just when you see it, just not that critical incident. That's a step. That's part of the whole process, but we have to continue on.
Well, and that's the key thing about peer support. And this is one thing that I try to emphasize with a lot of folks is that it's not just the peer support team. Everybody is a peer supporter. The peer support team, when it comes to IAFF, an IAFF peer supporter, is somebody that's got some extra training in active listening, and some extra training in crisis intervention, some extra training in developing an action plan, but we're not counselors. I don't have any special letters behind my name. We're just somebody there that can listen and help and encourage that firefighter to talk so they can hear for themselves what they're saying and come to the realization, together is, wow, I do have a problem and I do want to get some help. And then we know those connections. We know those things that we know those resources that are there and can connect them with those resources. But it's everybody's job to sit around and be aware of each other. Because, frankly, expecting somebody who is in the throes of being suicidal, expecting them to reach out is ludicrous. They're in the situation they are because their support networks have failed, their connection has failed, and they think they're alone in this. And expecting them to be the one to reach out, it's not going to happen.
Right.
It's not until we as brothers and sisters go, hey, there's been a change, and the acronym we use is BLT with Mayo. There's been a change in their behavior. There's life events going on. Their thinking has changed and their mood has changed. Something's happening. And we've got to have enough courage and enough love and enough compassion to step up to them and say, hey, brother, hey, sister, I noticed something different about you. This isn't you. Something's going on. Can I call peer support for you? Or can we call peer support together? Or can I call somebody that I know that can sit down with you and help to work through these things? Because I care about you and I want you to be here tomorrow. Until everybody takes on that responsibility, things aren't going to change.
That is fantastic. And John talks about that in our workshop about paying attention, because there's always signs that something is going on. We got to take our next quick break. We will be right back with Bill Cruz. Stay tuned, everybody.
Interested in starting a podcast or TV show? Worried about what you'll say and how to keep it engaging? Think you'd like to be a guest on podcast, radio, or TV shows? Hi, I'm Susan Hamilton, owner and founder of OBBM Network, and I would like to invite you to an OBBM media training to get the tools you need for a relaxed and polished performance you'll be proud to share. Our specialized training techniques include role play, voice training, and everything you need to deliver a confident, clear, and engaging interaction. Go to offbeatbusiness.com. Go to the calendar and register for a training that's convenient for you. Dates available now, 214-714-0495.
Hey, welcome back to A Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam, with Lieutenant, soon to be Captain Bill Cruz with the Garland Fire Department. Before we took our last break, we were talking about reaching out and trying to, everybody's peer support. Peer support, individuals have that extra training, but we all in aspects have to be peer support in a way. We have to take accountability for our partners that we work with and our friends and our brothers and our sisters. We see somebody who's always come to work impeccable, uniform pressed, everything's going on. Now they're coming back, they're sloppy, they're stained shirts, they're really not taking care of themselves. They're unshaven, whatever it is. Maybe it's not the job. Maybe it's home life. Maybe it's something going on outside of work. That may be a little personal, but it still has an effect on our daily routines. And that's stress. And when we keep putting that stress in that bucket, one day it's going to pop and it's going to overload it. Sam's gone through it. I've gone through it. Bill, I'm sure you've gone through it. Mostly the older generation has felt the effect of stuff that we've never taken care of. So we can't stress enough to the younger generation that it's so important to take care of it now before it pops later on.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And if we can put resilience tools in place early on, makes all the difference. I'm very lucky that Chief Lee, our chief there in Garland, allows me 8-hour day with all of our new recruits, and we pull them in and we spend 8 hours talking about resilience. We put concrete skills in their hand of breathing exercises, meditation, mindfulness. We talk about positive connections and positive emotions and positive thoughts, and how important those are, and things that they can be doing. I mean, I don't spend 8 hours, this job's going to mess you up. This, not blood red runs red on the highway video, right? No, we because everybody's going to be affected differently at different times and different rates, different ways. So here are the tools to use. And we have, and don't have concrete data, but just, anecdotal data. We've seen a increase in the quality of our recruits and their ability to manage, because really and truly, and police officers don't understand this completely, but when we're putting a firefighter on the job, they're inserting themselves into a family. They're stepping into a crew that they're going to spend a third of their life with. Some of those farts are old and salty and they're rough around the edges, and some are a little bit different and can be a little challenging. So giving them some conflict resolution skills and some of these resiliency skills, they've been better able to acclimate to station life, but also they've been better able to adjust on the fire scene. They don't step off that apparatus with that deer in the headlight look and then 1 foot nailed to the floor running in a circle. They do some breathing techniques on the way to the call. They step off, they're reset, they're good, their heart rate's down, and they're ready to do something. And
well, I got to tell you, Bill, and I don't mean to stop you, but I got to tell you, you've gotten my heart rate down, because out of all the lieutenants and captains and chiefs, you are probably you have the most calming voice. I'm sitting here like going, oh, you're just so relaxing. You're a pleasure in an 8-hour class, I bet. It's just you relaxed me.
Well, I think that means that Spotify, this is going to be like the highest rated show. So thank you. But Bill, you said a bunch of things, and working with the recruits right off, it is huge. Giving them an awareness of what the job is like, because we have to be real. If you're going to be an educator, you have to be real. You have to tell it like it is, and then you say, but that's the best part, because they're in a space where they're going to learn how to fight fires. They're going to do it safely. Sure, people may get injured. We've got things that can fix that, but ultimately it's about you staying healthy. And again, we separate the mental and physical, but let's not do that. Let's say for you to stay healthy, and this is what it's going to take. And when you break down resiliency and you make it part of a training protocol, so it's a mandatory piece, you're able to, you have their attention, it's captured, and that's where there's a lot more learning that I think is able to be done versus a lot of folks that may come to it later, call it mindfulness or mental health practices, where they have let's just use mindfulness because it's absolutely wonderful, and then they're like, oh well, if I do this, I all of a sudden think about a call from 15 years ago that was really bad, so they think like something's broken, right? Like, hey, this isn't working because it's supposed to be like this, but I'm like this, and that's why giving it to the recruits when they're coming in, they're building that base of being resilient, because they don't have, now some of their buckets already have stuff from childhood. We know about childhood ACEs. But I'll say almost a clean slate where, hey, this is just training, guys. So if you came a bad call, what does your training tell you? Go take a break for 15, 20 minutes if you're off, for however many minutes long or hours long. Move, go walk, go, roll up a hose, go do something. You get those stress hormones out, and the endorphins in. And for the folks that you work with that have been in a while and have seen some crappy stuff, what would you say is like the starting point for them? What would they need to do?
Well, the very first thing, and it would have the biggest effect, is sleep. We have not put enough emphasis on sleep.
You're a firefighter. That's all you guys do.
No, hate to argue with you. Just remember, we do have one thing in common. We both want to be firefighters. But some of us were able to pass the test. So anyway, but yeah, I mean, it's, for a long time, the belief is that sleep wasn't cumulative, that if you lost sleep over a night, that you couldn't make up for it. Well, science has shown that that's not true. That while you may lose sleep tonight, getting some more today in a nap or a little extra sleep the next night will help. Because getting that sleep opens up that adenosine drain, gets it out of the way, clears those receptors, helps us be alert, helps us be awake. But also getting into that deep REM sleep is where our brain begins to process and file away those memories and puts the proper labels on them and puts them in the proper place. And when we don't get that sleep, when we don't give that filing time for our brain, it gets misfiled, it gets mislabeled, and it doesn't get processed, and it stays as junk. But if we can just focus on that, I mean, even little things, I mean, because one thing we talk about is if you get that run at 5 o'clock in the morning and you get back at 5:30, don't make the pot of coffee and just sit around the kitchen table. Go get that another hour of sleep if you can. Learn techniques that when you get back to reset yourself, to bring yourself down so you can get back to sleep. And on your days off, dang it, get the sleep. That's one thing that I get up at 3:30 in the morning to go to the fire station. And it was not uncommon for me to stay up till midnight. As I started studying sleep and the importance, I was like, well, you know what? I need to be going to bed earlier because I'm not doing myself any favors. And even as it comes to the family, I feel guilty taking a nap when I get home. You know what? Take that 4-hour nap. When you get up, you're going to be better engaged. You're going to be in a better mood, and it's going to be better quality. You may not have the quantity, but it's going to be better quality time. And do those things. But sleep and self-care, purposely finding those things to recharge, things to disconnect from the job, allow that hypervigilance switch to get flipped off and let the mind file those things away, put them where they belong, and reset and recharge with those things that do that. Fishing or a hobby, whatever that is, sitting, listening to music, playing with the dogs, whatever that is. Because we find that we're the worst about that. We're the absolute worst about that self-care and miss out on those things. So
when you do your 8-hour class, Bill, do you engage with the families at all? Do you bring family element into it? Because a lot of the new recruits, I'm sure they're young or just getting married or just having kids. Their family doesn't know about the fire service. They haven't grown up in the fire service, so they don't really know what to expect. Do you bring the families in and teach them as well?
Yeah, even when I joined the fire department 26 years ago, Captain J.D. Shulgin has always done a class, because he and his wife bring in the new recruits on a Saturday, and they sit down and they talk about love and marriage in the fire service. Then they separate them. And they talk with the spouses about being the spouse of a firefighter. They talk to the firefighters about the fact that they're going to be assholes and they need to keep that in check. And, and that there's going to be things they get hung up on. Don't get hung up on those things. But yeah, we do that. And it's important that we do. We had a situation where we had a member who got himself in a bad spot with some abuse issues. And we got him taken care of and got him into treatment. And when we were talking to his wife, she goes, I knew something was different with him, but I didn't know who to call. I didn't want to call his captain because I'd get him in trouble. I didn't want to call so-and-so because I'd get him in trouble. And I didn't want him to lose his job. And it was then we realized, well, we do this. We also need to educate them on what peer support is. So if they notice those changes in their loved one, who do I call and what's that procedure look like? And we even have spouse groups now forming as spouse peer support groups. And then they come to our peer support classes. Lubbock is the one that comes right to mind, that they developed that in the wake of the tragedy they had with the two firefighters struck on the highway at the ice storm, because they realized that the spouses were being left out. I mean, they were left in a void. So they've come together to support each other, but also to educate on how to support their loved one and things to expect and how to support them and help them in that process.
Well, that is fantastic to hear about how the spouse's peer support, because I think every agency should have that, because the family serves with the first responder, no matter what, because they're exposed to the same thing. And they're not that they're on the call with them, but they get to have interaction with their loved one after the call. And that's an important conversation to have. Hey, we got to take our next quick break. We will be right back. Stay tuned, everybody.
Look, when you need to respond to an aggressive situation to protect yourself, your family, or your property, understanding your firearm and legal position are critical. Officers know your skills are only as good as your commitment to training. So know what you're doing. So when you're in a vulnerable situation, we can count on your response. Whether you're a beginner or a licensed gun carrier, Carry in Texas offers basic firearms training, Texas permitless carry courses, license to carry, and basic 2A courses so you can understand the responsibilities, situational awareness, and learn the technical skill required when you carry your firearm. Go to carryintexas.com to find the right course for you. Join me, former United States Secret Service agent Samantha Horwitz, on the range for beginner basics, LTC prep, and range practice. Go to carryintexas.com today. That's carryintexas.com.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast. John and Sam with Lieutenant Bill Cruz with the Garland Fire Department and President of the Texas Firefighters Association. Welcome back, guys. Before we took our last break, we're talking about the peer support of our firefighters, but how important it is for the family element to be involved as well. You know, Sam, you brought up a good point that our families do get secondary trauma. And, you know, they see something on the news, they know it's in their neighborhood. Oh my God, there's a bad car accident, there's a bad fire in my town. I know my loved one is there, right? That stress level, not knowing, is just like a dispatcher, not seeing the end of the call, worrying, that heartful worry that's going to go on all day long until you get that phone call that they're safe. But that stress element as well builds up, right? And that can come out in so many different forms, in anger, not to the point of anger where they're mad at that person, but they're mad that they feel that way, that they had to go through that. So there's a lot of emotional roller coasters that our siblings will go through as our firefighters advance in their careers and things do happen. So I'm glad that Garland has taken that step and has, embraced the family element, because that's so important.
Oh, it definitely is. And I mean, because if a firefighter's, bringing stress from home, that's just one more element to make it worse at work, on the job. And, and it's not just educating our spouses, it's educating our firefighters, on being aware of those things. Or when you're going home, are folks running to you, or are they running away from you? It's a funny story. I bought Miranda Oza's book, Fully Involved, a great book talking about being married to a firefighter. And I was buying this book to give to my wife here, you need to read this so you know how better to support me as a firefighter. Well, I probably ought to read it first. And it was amazing. I mean, here's a firefighter's wife in California. Here I am in Texas, and she is saying some of the very same sentences that my wife has said to me over time. And I realized, wow. And again, that slap over the head that I've got to take some responsibility before I expect somebody else to do something for me.
Yeah.
I need to be paying attention to these things, things like coming in and getting upset because there's dishes in the sink. Well, hell, I don't know what her day was like. She may have stayed up and been playing a game with the kiddos because that's what they needed. And the last thing she was worried about was the dishes, or any number of tasks around the house that get us spun up, and just, reframing those thoughts, reframing those things, looking at things a little bit different and giving some forgiveness that we're expected to be given to us because we're coming home cranky, works out a lot better. So that's one of the things that I try to spend a lot of time educating on, is not just that their spouses need to support them, but that we need to be doing things for ourselves, that we're not carrying this stuff home if possible.
Sometimes a simple phone call on the way home. Hey, I had a bad day. It sets the tone or sets the pace instead of just barging in the door and immediately getting angry. So sometimes a phone call, hey, I'm on my way home. We had a bad fire. We had a bad wreck. Or the spouse going, hey, I was busy with the kids today. I really didn't have a chance to do some housework, or I didn't get a chance to get this done. It kind of softens the blow, and it's not shock reality when you walk through the door.
Now be careful, John. You're fixing to drop that ugly C word that we have so much problem with. And in this wonderful society that we have, with all the methods of communication, that we are so disconnected, and our communication absolutely is
so right. So true.
Yeah, at Backing the Blue Denton, one of the guest speakers that was talking about exactly this, she asked how many people, how many first responders in the room have a transition plan from when they pull into the driveway to when they get in the door. And 2 first responders raised their hand. And the whole thing is like, that the couples have to agree that if you text and say, I need 10 minutes, or I'm not coming home, I've got to go to the gym first, that the spouse at home needs to be okay with that, because they've agreed on that beforehand. It's not in the moment. So I think that is overlooked. To say just communication, there's so much more to that, where there's got to be agreements made when you're coming off shift, and what that looks like.
Oh,
Call it a pre-plan. Call it a pre-plan instead of a transition, because firefighters pre-plan everything. They go and pre-plan buildings and everything else. Call it a pre-plan, and they'll do that.
Yep. Well, I mean, it can be something. I know folks that they keep a change of clothes in the garage, and when they get home, they take off their uniform, they put it in a dirty clothes in a basket just for uniforms, and they put on the street clothes for home. So when they walk through the door, they have now transitioned from firefighter to dad, or to husband, to whatever that role is for that day. But yeah, but for me, I've got a fishing pond in the backyard. And on those days, my wife knows that if it's time for me to be home and she looks and I'm back there, I've had a tough shift, or, tough phone call on the way home, whatever that is, that I need that 15, 20 minutes and, to sit out there and just fish and sort those things out. And then I'll come inside and I'll be the husband or the dad that I need to be, or should be, for the family.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that is. And yeah, that's all it takes is the little things, the little agreements that go a long way, because to operate as an effective family unit, you need both people to be on the same page, because it doesn't work otherwise. Yeah. As we all know from being parents in this world. Hey, we got to take our last quick break, and we are going to come back and for everybody listening and watching, we're going to find out how you all can connect directly to Bill Cruz. So stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back.
To the Health Engineer Show. I'm Cliff Buckley, the Health Engineer, right here on the Offbeat.
Hi, I'm Larry Cortamp.
Hi, my name is Susan Hamilton, and you're watching Offbeat.
Hi, this is Doreen Milano.
welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam, and our guest, Lieutenant Bill Cruz with the Garland Fire Department. Bill, we covered so much ground today, but there's so much more ground we need to cover. And we need to really dig a little bit more of the surface out. You know, you've been over 30 years. You've seen it progress over 30 years from crisis intervention. Well, actually, from drinking in the bars to crisis intervention, and and so on. And we're at a good point now. I think we're finally starting to really get some momentum. We see it in the suicide rate. We see it in a lot of the mental health crises. We've seen the divorce rate drop a little bit. We're seeing good signs, but there's still so much work to be done. And that's why we have to continue to use our voices to help our younger generation get through such an amazing career.
Oh, definitely. We started the conversation. The key is that we've got to keep the conversation going and get in depth and even talk about the uncomfortable things. And yeah, I mean, this is the best job in the world. I love what I do. People ask me, when are you going to retire? And I'm like, I don't know. I can't see retirement because I still love getting on the BRT and riding down the street, big red truck, for you, for those that don't know what that is. But yeah, I mean, I absolutely love this job, and want to keep doing that, and know that there are things that I need to do that. And that is take care of myself, my physical health, so I can keep doing the job, but also take care of my mental health, so that I can remain in that.
So for all the firefighters listening and watching, if there was a site that they can connect with and check out some information and get in touch with you, where would they go?
Well, if they go to IAFF.org /behavioral-health, that is the IAFF's website that's dedicated to behavioral health. There's information there about peer support classes, resiliency classes, as well as things like emotional regulation for emergency responders, a online class free to everybody, anger management for the fire service, supporting members in recovery, behavioral health awareness. All of these are classes that are free and available to any IAFF member, but also anybody that's not with the IAFF. They can log in there, create a guest account, and a number of those classes are available to them as well.
That's fantastic. So
yeah.
Again, you don't have to be a member of IAFF to get access to everything that IAFF offers. Just go ahead and create your guest account. Again, for those of you listening on your favorite podcast app, that website is IAFF.org /behavioral-health. And you can have access to that. And, there are so many great things in the online courses. The pandemic, while it was a headache for a lot of folks, the ability to create things that were tangible that people could get their hands on while not on duty, or maybe they have some off time while on duty, that keeps the momentum, keeps them moving forward in a positive health aspect, is key. And so thank you, IAFF, for being forward thinking and doing that.
Quick question.
Yes,
is that also open to family? I know you said guest. So if a family, like we were talking about, a family spouse, they also can use that as well, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah. And the other thing is our peer support classes and resiliency classes are not closed to non-IAFF members. They have to be sponsored by an IAFF local, but then that local can permit anybody to come in that. So we have spouses, we have non-IAFF members, we have chaplains, I taught a class in Cleveland, Tennessee, where more than half of the class was police officers. Unfortunately, I didn't bring any coloring books, and I had to talk really, really slow, but we got them through it. I had to get the jab in at some point.
I know. That's all right. All right. But that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Good. We use blue crayons, by the way.
We also have to eliminate, when we talk about the stigma, we also have to, for our family members that are out there, we have to eliminate the fear of someone getting in trouble. We've got to remember all of this stuff that you go online and do or you speak about is 100% confidential. This does not impact the firefighter's job or the police officer's job as much as they say it will. It will not. And unless that person is going to harm themselves immediately, then we have to take action. But otherwise, everything else is very confidential. We have grown beyond the reprimands and taking people off shift if it wasn't for their own good. So please don't ever think that you're hurting somebody by opening up and bringing something forward, because you could save a life.
Yeah, Bill, thank you so much for your time tonight and all the fantastic information. Congratulations to you on becoming a granddad for the second time, and then your upcoming promotion to captain. You are doing so much phenomenal stuff for Garland, but beyond, because we didn't even get into your international travel. So guys, you know, go ahead, and Bill's actually generous enough to give you his direct contact. And that is bill.crews, CREWS, @outlook.com. So, you know, ask him about getting in on some of the classes and the sponsorship. And I'll be updating and having your contact information in the show notes that I'll put out tomorrow. Bill, thank you so much. Really.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank y'all. Appreciate y'all having this platform and having the conversation. The more we talk about it, the better things we'll get.
Absolutely. And we will be in touch for sure. Be safe out there.
All right.
Take care.
Thank y'all.
Okay. Yeah, this was great. And the fact that IAFF has recognized the importance and not put that barrier like for members only, because we see that all the time, right? Mm-hmm. We have to open this important learning tools to everybody. So thank you, Bill. Again, thank you, IAFF, for doing that to get more access. Hey, I've been getting a couple of messages. Sorry if the video is glitching. I know that we still have some technology issues based upon what happened in the DFW area from the other day. So thank you for sticking with us. And you know, we are continuing to get the show out because you guys have said we want to see you there. So OBBM Network has put us all out there. So if you're watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, on YouTube, on X Live, on Instagram, or through Rumble TV, thank you for joining us. We truly appreciate it. Wherever you're watching, just hit like and subscribe. And I think I don't know if all the other things have it, but there's a bell on YouTube, so you can click that and never miss a show. We appreciate the ongoing support. And, you know, education for our first responders, it takes a lot of hard work and dedication into putting together courses and workshops like what we do at A Badge of Honor. And so if you like what you hear on this show, if you visited our website, I'm just going to throw it up there, abadgeofhonor.org. Go ahead and click that donate button. Every little bit counts. If we can provide the scholarships for our first responders, that means they get to attend our workshops and get the important knowledge base about stress, post-traumatic stress, your mental health and wellness and resiliency. They get to do that at no cost. So go ahead and click that donate button. You guys see these guys, the banner every day, every week. I'm like tongue-tied today. And carrytheload.org is our partner. They understand the importance of the education piece too. We are so blessed to have been chosen to be nonprofit partners with Carry the Load again this year. Tomorrow, it's my birthday, and I'm just gonna say that.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. You will see a special Carry the Load fundraiser through A Badge of Honor for my birthday. So give it, whether it's $1, give generously, whatever you can. Just know that your donation is coming back to assist first responders in their mental health and wellness journey. For all of the events going on, where we'll be, what we're doing, check out abadgeofhonor.org. Again, we got that events tab. Just click that. It'll take you to our calendar. We do have an upcoming firefighter and family wellness and resiliency course it's on March 23rd. I think I have that date right. Okay. So if you would like to register, it is very limited, meaning there are only 50 seats available. So what we'd love to see are the firefighters and their spouse, significant other, son, daughter, whoever you are cohabitating with. It's 50 tickets. And grab your ticket because you got to have a ticket to enter. So you want to do that. And with that, John, Bill, again, great information to all of our first responders out there. We are praying for you every day. Know that you have an army of, we're now civilians that pray for you every single day. Thank you for what you do to keep our communities safe and answer the call on our worst days. To all of our veterans, thank you for fighting the good fight to allow John and I to do a show like this every week. For all of our active duty personnel spread out across the globe, thank you for keeping our shores safe here at home. John, take us home.
Man, I couldn't say, I can't say it better than Bill said it. Let's keep this conversation going. You do not have to be a peer support counselor or trainer to have opening ears. So listen to Bill. Let's keep this communication going. And peace.
Till next week, everybody. Take care.
A Badge of Honor podcast is produced for the OBBM Network podcast and protected under copyright law. For content permissions, please submit your request to abadgeofhonor.com on the content page. For OBBM Network programming information, please call 214-714-0495 today.